Hi, my name is Robin Gray. I'm an international race officer and I'm an RYA Regional Race Management Coordinator. I've been asked to do a quick video on what goes into the race officer's bag. Now everybody's bag is different, so I'll show you what's in mine. Well, as you can see, my bag is actually not a bag, it's two bags. I have one bag that has all my actual race management kit in it, and I have a second bag which just carries the normal stuff that you would carry when you're going out on the water. Just the simple stuff like PFD and my wet gear and so on. And I carry my water and sun cream and so on in this bag. So we'll get with that one out of the way and get to the serious one. Okay, this is the serious bag. I can carry it on my back so that if I'm moving from a rib onto a committee boat, it's easy to carry. It's actually a photographer's bag. I think I bought it on eBay for about 40 quid, mind you, that was probably 25 years ago. So I'm just going to go through what we have in it. First, most important thing, a bit of rope on the side, which means that when I get up beside the mast or wherever I'm operating from, I can actually tie the bag in, because there's rather a lot of kit in here and I really do not want to lose it. So tie it on first. The outer pocket here is the first one that we'll normally open, and there's a lot of stuff in here. Most important is this. This is just a presentation folder. And what I have in this is all the notice of race, sailing instructions, bearing tables, speed tables for the boats that we're operating from. Usually have an entry list, this sort of stuff. And at the back it's just, well, this is just a list of the flags that should be on board the boat. So that's the first thing that goes on there. It's waterproof to a certain degree. You don't want to keep it out in the rain all day long, but at least you can rain on it and it doesn't turn into mush. Okay, next thing that's in there, always at the top of the bag and very easily got at, you know what it is, Racing Rules of Sailing. This is my main copy, which has all the portions marked on it that you can't change if you're writing notice of race and sailing instructions. Just in case we have to change something, I know where I am. So, Racing Rules of Sailing. Next thing out of the bag is tablet. Now this forms several functions. This is a cheapish Android tablet. It's a Lenovo LM10 and it has on it the navigation software, so that when I'm placing a committee boat somewhere, I know what my distances are to marks and to fixed marks and landmarks and shoal banks and things like that. And the other function this does is that at the start and finish of races, we use it to video the starts, and we now use it to video the finishes. We don't use the normal camera. You download an app called Timestamp Camera, and you can actually add onto the camera screen things like your latitude and longitude, and it has of course the time on it. And this tablet can take its time either from a network or from GPS time. So that's it. That's only about 150 quid. Very well worth the money. Okay, next out of the bag. This is an old iPad or tablet case it's in, but it's one of my radio controlled clocks. I never know what I'm going to find when you go to a strange club. You don't know what equipment they have, so I bring as much as I can with me. So we have a radio controlled clock in the bag as well. Also in this front part, I have a course setting tool. This is for setting trapezoid courses, and the idea behind that is, now I actually should credit this. I stole this idea from a Dutch race officer, Menno Verkoutenen, who very kindly left me his version of it, and I've now expanded it a bit. So I have these for 70 degree, 80 degree, 60 degree trapezoid courses, and you set the wind direction and then you have a little diagram of the course. So bearing from Mark 1 to Mark 2 is shown here, and the reciprocal, of course, and the same thing back from, say, Mark 2 to your reference point at Mark 4. That I find very useful, because trying to add 70 to a bearing or subtract it and doesn't work. This takes all takes all the hassle out of it. And I have various ones of those. That one's for 70 degrees, this one's for 60 degrees, and so on. Okay. Last out of the front portion of the bag here is a very high-tech wind instrument. Yeah, it's a coat hanger with a bit of wool on it. At least it'll give me a direction. I also would normally tie either bits of wool or bits of old acoustic tape, you know, the tape you used to get in cassette recorders, to forestay or shrouds of a boat and so on, and that gives you a quick reference to where the wind is coming from. Right, that's the front portion looked at, so now we'll look inside. Right, for the main portion of the bag, let's just open it up. When I'm on board, I only open it up as much as I need to open it up for obvious reasons, but there's a lot of stuff in here. And I'll look at, and of course this is, because this is a camera bag, we can configure it whatever way we want. Start off with some very small pockets up here, and I've got a little bit of wool tying on shrouds, rubber band, we'll come back to those later on, and cable ties. Now we're now going environmentally friendly, so these are not just normal cable ties, these are the removable cable ties, and I carry long ones as well. So you can cable tie stuff on, but then take it off and you don't throw the plastic away, you use it. I carry a little bit of the warning tape that the rescue people use to tag boats that they've cleared, and funnily enough, I never used to carry it, and then someday was in a rib and I didn't have any and I needed it, so that's why I carry a little bit of that now. This pocket here has some more cable ties. I'll just put these out as I get them out. So these more cable ties, a notebook. I keep notes as we go along as to what's happening in the event. So for instance, race 1, general recall, what it was, etc., so on. That keeps me right. I always like a recorder to do the same thing. And a small bag with pencils, a pencil sharpener, rubber, although ordinary pencils I've moved away from now. I now tend to go for these, the Bic make a disposable mechanical pencil, which is very good. So if you break the lead, you just push it down and it works. And I think you get 10 for a $5, so they work very, very well. So that's the stuff that's in the top of the bag. So we'll move that on. Now, from the front here, there's a couple of things here which are normally the first things that I put on when I get out onto the race course. And of course, one of them is the big yellow stopwatch. I normally just carry that anyway as a second check on the timekeeper. Remember, race officers are control freaks. We like to know exactly what's happening. The other thing I then put around my neck right away is my hand-bearing compass. Now this, I should also thank a Japanese friend of mine, Hiro Hisaki. Hiro gifted me this a few years ago when we were at the World Cup, and it is an absolutely fabulous hand-bearing compass. Now I can't find it on eBay anywhere or anything like that, so you won't get that, but the more common one that most people will be able to find, and it's absolutely perfectly adequate, are these Plastimo ones. And these are virtually indestructible, so everybody in the race course, Mark-layers, everybody should have one of these. Virtually indestructible, about 50-60 quid I think now. Hate to think what that one costs now. The other thing in the front pocket is a pair of binos. Binos very useful. These are, again, cheapy binos. Don't bring a very expensive pair out. These are autofocus ones, so that anybody can pick them up, use them, and they work. And you don't have to fiddle about focusing with it or anything. So if you're looking in the middle of the line, the far end of the line, or you're looking to try and see what's happening at a distant mark or anything like that, those are great. Again, 30 to 40 quid, not very dear. They're an 8 times magnification. You don't want anything more than that. That works perfectly well. Okay, let's see what we've got in the other pockets. Now I'm going to start with the front pocket here, and I keep in here my wind indicator. Now this one here is the one we've recommended for years on Windtronic 2, Kindle Windtronic 2. Unfortunately, you can't buy these anymore, but I still carry this, and I also carry this. Now this is a very cheap monopod camera stand, but it will screw into the Windtronic, and in fact it will screw into the other anemometer that I have here as well. And the idea behind this is that when I get onto the boat, I stick this up and I tape this monopod to one of the front stanchions on the boat, so that I don't have to, if I want to look at the wind speed, I don't have to pull it out of my pocket. It's already there. It's just either use a couple of the disposable, reusable cable ties, or tape, and just tape it to a stanchion, and it's always there, so you can always keep track of what the wind speed is. Now, as I say, those are no longer available. You haven't been able to buy them for about 5 years. Having said that, this one here you can find. It's called the Holdpeak HP-876. When I bought the Windtronic, it was about 80 quid. These are 20 off places like Banggood, or you'll just, if you search for Holdpeak HP-876. So far I have found, I've got 3 of these now, so I can give them to marklayers if need be, and I found these very very similar to the Windtronic. As far as I can work out, they're actually a clone of the Windtronic, a Chinese clone of the Windtronic. Right. Next pocket back, I have dictaphone. Well, actually, control freak again, I actually have 2 dictaphones. These are these small digital ones that you can put a card into, and you can download, or you can take the card out and put it into a PC or whatever to replay it, which is very useful if you end up in redress hearings and things like this. And again, these are, well, they're not cheap as chips. They're about 40 quid, I think, now, but very, very useful. So, digital recorders. Now, I should actually say I carry a 3rd recorder, and it's this one, and it's in a box. Now, my marklaying team have great fun when they see me putting this on, because they refer to this as Robin's Britney Spears kit, because what it actually is, it's a cheap headset with a microphone on it, and if it's really bumpy, if it's very windy, very bumpy, and the boat's moving around an awful lot, I stick this on and I switch on the recorder and stick it in my pocket and forget about it, and it means that I don't actually have to use one hand to hold the dictaphone. I can just keep talking, and sometimes I just use it when we're running around, and it's also useful for umpiring and other things as well. So that in my little bag, just to stop it being crushed. Okay. Right, moving further on to the back of the bag. The next little pocket I have here is spare batteries for everything. I find these little plastic boxes that you can buy off eBay very useful. So I carry AA batteries, I carry AAA batteries for my dictaphones. AA's go into things like the GPS and so on. And I also carry a couple of other batteries. These are for the laser rangefinder, and the wee penny ones for the anemometers and so on. So carry those anyway. Next hole back is my friend. Committee boat owner once accused me of saying, "Why are you videoing the start of the fleet, the start of the marklayers?" Well, it wasn't, of course. This is a Bushnell Tour version 3 laser rangefinder. unbelievably useful for setting the length of start lines, setting the length of gates, different distance to spreaders and so on, and in some cases the length of courses. It reads in meters or yards, but of course we all work in meters now. Very useful. That one is, you can pay any money for these things. That one is a bit expensive in that it's about 240 quid at the moment, but I also have for our own marketing teams, I have cheap Chinese ones which are about 80 quid, and they virtually do the same job. They're a red laser, so they don't work terribly well on very dark colored marks, but if you've got a yellow mark or a bright orange mark, something like that, they work really well. Right, next pocket back. Electrical tape cures all ills on a committee boat, and this tape here is a part of an old VHS tape. Not exactly sure what the movie was, but what I use this for is wind indicators. So you can break a bit off and you can tie it to shrouds or a handy halyard or whatever you've got on the committee boat, and even if it rains on it, the water just runs off. It's not like wool has a disadvantage of, if it gets really wet it just points downwards, but this will actually keep pointing in the direction of the wind. Right, last couple of things on this side. Cling film. Now I got this from a packaging company. Why do I carry cling film? Well, some of you will know that on some radios, particularly ICOM radios, if they get water in the microphone, I mean, they have a little device that you can vibrate the water off it and so on, but by the time you need to vibrate it off, it's too late. But if you put 2 wraps of cling film round your ICOM speaker stroke microphone, you will not ever have that problem. And I find nobody does it nowadays, so I bring it my own and I use it with my marklayers and rescue people and things like that. In this pocket at the back here, I have 2 things. I have chalk, so that if we're using a blackboard to write down BFDs, UFDs and so on, I carry chalk. And I also carry a white marker, or a black marker I should say, so that if we're using a whiteboard, I have a marker with me for that. Right, moving swiftly on. We've only got a couple of compartments to go. I'll look at this one first, and in here is my own radio. And again, I usually get this out as soon as I get onto the boat. People love Intel radios. I'm not particularly fussy about Intel radios, or other ICOM radios. I use these Intel ones. I don't have the problem with the mic that you have with the ICOM ones. And you notice the slight modification is a little bit of wool. So if you're standing in the back of the boat, or you're standing somewhere or in a rib or something like that, and you need a wind direction, just hold it up and away you go. And of course some form of strap to hold it in place. But again, to be sure, I actually carry 2 radios, and I've been doing this for quite some time. Since I've done it, I haven't actually had a battery problem, but before I did it, I used to have battery problems with the odd radio. Mind you, this original radio is probably 22, 23 years old now, so I don't really have too much bother with them. The other thing that's in this pocket is my GPS. Now, I have a couple of GPSs. I have a Garmin 72, which was the one that we used to recommend for marklaying and so on. This is the Garmin 73. You can't buy the 72 anymore. This is the 73. It does the same job, but I find that the menu is easier to use, and certainly the marklayers, if they haven't actually used GPS before and you give them one of these, it's fairly intuitive. They can find their way around it quite quickly. Now the last pocket, we have a couple of things in here. Spare glasses. If I lose my glasses, I can see a radial sail number of 200 meters. I just can't read anything inside 2 meters. And to be sure, of course, being me, I actually have 2 spare pairs of glasses. Now these are just cheapy ones that you get in the high street. and they only cost 2 or 3 quid each, so if I do throw them overboard, it's not the end of the world. A couple of other things in here. Shackle spanner, you never know when that comes in useful. Whistle. If you have to climb into the rib and go somewhere to finish a race, you need a sound signal when you put up Sierra to shorten a course. So I always carry a whistle with me. But the other thing I carry, and this has got me out of trouble several times, is this is one of these blow into foghorns. I've just put a bit of string on it so I can put it around my neck. And these are about 8 or 9 quid, I think, in most chandlers. And all you do is you blow in the side, and it makes quite a good noise. And you can use that as a sound signal if your main sound signal gives up the ghost. And the last thing in there is some sun cream. So that's the inside of this completed. So we're not over yet, because we have another pocket at the back, and we'll look at that now. Okay, we're on to the back pockets now. So let's just open this up and we'll start pulling stuff out. There's all sorts of stuff in here. I keep various clipboards that do different things. This one has a wind direction record chart on it. Rubber band, I'd mentioned rubber bands later on. If you have this on the boat, these things flap about all the time. Just put a bit of rubber band around it and it keeps it all in place, and you can stick your pencil underneath it as well, and that works quite well. What's next out of the bag? Depending on who the timekeeper is, I usually would prepare a start countdown sheet for them. This is okay, orange up, we put the actual time in, class flag up, what the time is, then pop up. And once you put the orange number in, you can put the rest of these in. And it just gives you, apart from anything else, it'll give you a log of what's happened later on, and supply quite a number of these sheets of paper. And we can keep a record of the starts of the races and what happened and what didn't happen. Okay, and there's room to write OCSs, BFDs, and so on that as well. Now, I also carry a couple of clipboards here for writing results down later on. Prefer these fold over ones, because if it is raining, you can keep it sort of half dry. The best solution to that is actually one of these Rainwriter clipboards. These come in various shapes and sizes. They're quite expensive. I think the last time I went to look, they were about 35 quid. But you can write away inside it to keep all your result sheets dry, and then when you're finished, you just close it down and a bit of Velcro over it, and it's now, you can use that in the rain, obviously. These are really worthwhile having if you have a few bob spare to buy 1 or 2 of those. Now the last thing to come out of this is again another stolen idea. No, stolen's the wrong word. Another shared idea. I carry one of these so that if I have to go to a mark to finish boats, or if we're using a whiskey flag, if you're using, say, junior classes or classes that have a wide spread of abilities and you need to whiskey them. This was actually stolen from Tom Rusbridge, another IRO who's worked with me several times, and as well as having being able to put the result sheets on this side, we've got a whiskey flag on the far side, so you don't even have to carry a separate flag. You can just show that to the competitor and write his number down and keep a record of those. So that's more or less it. So that's what goes into my main bag. There's just one thing that was actually in my clothing bag that I usually carry with me, and that's this. And this is just an anchor ball, and you can slide it together and make an anchor ball out of it. But it's surprising how many even cruising boats do not actually have an anchor ball to use. So that's the kit that I use.